Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, divorce support for dads, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I'm your host. I created this podcast and the Divorced Advocate community as a result of my own high conflict divorce, and because you as a dad deserve all the resources necessary to thrive through this challenging time. I encourage you to check out our website at thedivorcedadvocate.com, where there are resources that correspond to this episode, as well as free access to our membership community, where you will find live meetings, free workshops and courses, private discussion groups, and more. And now, on to this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening this week. I first and foremost want to wish you a happy Labor Day. This episode is dropping on Labor Day here in the United States, and just want to recognize the absolutely astounding social and economic achievements of American workers here in our country, and also countries across the world. It's a special day, and I know that if you're listening, you are also a hardworking dad, and so I hope that you're enjoying a day off listening to this, maybe here on Labor Day. Our episode today is titled "Your Divorce is Bigger Than You," and I will in a moment get into the origins of why I've decided for us to discuss this today. But before we do that, let me welcome Joseph and Jeffrey to the Divorced Advocate community. Welcome. And if you are not part of the community yet, check it out at thedivorcedadvocate.com. There are all kinds of resources for you wherever you're at in your divorce, pre, during, or post, and wherever you are in your means in obtaining the help that you need. We've got free resources to paid resources, the membership site as well. A great free resource is the divorce quiz. It will give you a great idea of where you're at mentally and emotionally compared to thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of others who have gone through divorce. It'll give you some immediate results. You'll be able to review those and have an opportunity for us to get together and talk about those. So check it out at the divorcedadvocate.com website. The divorce quiz is under the divorce quiz tab. Okay. Your divorce is bigger than you. So I draw my inspiration, if you will, from lots of different sources. If you have listened to this podcast long enough, you know that we've had therapists on, and we've had world champion bodybuilders on, and we've had pastors on. And so today's topic came to me while in church today. And that was when our pastor was sharing a gospel verse from Ephesians 4. And I'm going to read this to you, and then I'm going to explain to you why I feel this is important and the reframe that we can do in our minds as divorced or divorcing dads that might help us through the process of divorce. And so Ephesians 4:1 says, "So I, the prisoner for the Lord, appeal to you to live a life worthy of the calling to which you have been called." So that is just part of verse 1. And look here, if you're not religious, that's okay. That's fine. If you don't read the Bible or believe in Christianity, that's fine too. Try to listen and understand the spirit of the message that I'm sharing with you through this verse today, because I feel that it's incredibly important for us, because our divorce is bigger than you. And so let me read that again. This verse, "So I, the prisoner for the Lord, appeal to you to live a life worthy of the calling to which you have been called." And what came to me is that while each and every one of us may not have ever chosen to get divorced, I know that when I got married, I never, ever intended to be divorced. My parents were divorced. I was never, ever going to get a divorce. Excuse me. But lo and behold, that is what happened. And I can truly now, 11 years down the road, and after creating this community for 4 years, say to you that that has been part of my calling in my life. Another part of my calling in my life is to be a father to my daughters, but being divorced, going through divorce, handling it, and creating a community around it have all been parts of my calling. And so, what I'm asking for you to do today is attempt to reframe this difficult and challenging time that you are going through, called divorce, as a calling for you to step forth in how you're able to handle this calling and how you're able to model and demonstrate a healthy and functional and less traumatic way that you're able to do it for your children. And so I'm going to take then now some of the rest of this this scripture verse that Paul wrote in the Bible in Ephesians, and I'm going to apply it to 6 different ways in which we can do this. So stick with me. I think by the end of this, you're going to see how these verses correspond to us reframing, if you will, in our minds that our calling, whether we've chosen this or not, whether we've wanted this or not, of divorce can and will be potentially a positive for you and your children on the back end of this. So the first. And let me just say this, this verse I feel really offers valuable wisdom on how we can conduct ourselves going through this process, even amidst the turmoil and the chaos and the uncertainty and the hurt and everything else that we are experiencing or have experienced through our divorce. And the first one being cultivating humility and gentleness. Ephesians 4:2 instructs us to quote, be completely humble and gentle, be patient, bearing with one another in love, end quote. Now, this verse is particularly relevant for us divorced dads because, look, if anybody's been through a divorce, it is a exercise in humility for sure. And that exercise in humility means setting aside our egos and our pride, even when we feel wronged. And whatever the circumstances in your relationship, in any relationships, there's 2 sides to both. It takes 2 people to dance, if you will. And so there's a high probability that you have been wronged, but there's also a high probability that there's some wronging that you have exhibited as well. So gentleness involves controlling our reactions and speaking kindly throughout this process, especially about our ex in front of our children. And so and I don't think I've emphasized this recently, our children derive part of their identity through their relationship with each of the parents. So when you do speak badly about your ex or your soon-to-be ex, you're literally bad-mouthing your child. So don't do it. Control that reaction. It is a fleeting, if you will, a fleeting way in which you can make yourself feel better about things by saying something that is derogatory. But I can tell you, and I can assure you, that is actually more damaging to your children than it will be to any benefit that is going to bring you in the short term. So practice that gentleness and that humility in controlling your reaction. Now, if you're in the midst of it, I know that this is incredibly difficult and challenging, particularly if you're the one that has not been the one that has initiated this, which is the majority of men. Majority of women initiate the divorces. So it's hard to catch up with the mental, emotional state in which you need to be in to get through this in a healthy and a functioning way. But cultivating that humility and gentleness can be a good first start. The next one, maintaining unity and peace. Quote, make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace, end quote. That's Ephesians 4:3, which is the next verse. So Now, while our relationship and while our marriage has ended, we're still going to be tied to and in relation with, to some extent, our ex, our soon to be ex. And our most important task in that relationship is going to be co-parenting or parallel parenting, however it's going to end up for you, our children. And so striving to maintain as peaceful a co-parenting or parallel parenting relationship as you can for the sake of your children is the best. Now, this might mean being flexible with schedules or compromising on some decisions, or just really letting things go at times. I can tell you that this is for me, this is an ongoing exercise in attempting to keep unity and peace. And for those of you that are either learning to parallel parent or have been parallel parenting, you know that this can be difficult and challenging, because parallel parenting is completely different than co-parenting. I'm not going to go into the specific details of that right now, but I have multiple episodes previously about that you can get up to speed on. But parallel parenting means one parent is just not going to cooperate and make things difficult. So this can be, as I say and joke in our group meetings, the gift that keeps on giving, because it will give me an opportunity, and has and continues to give me an opportunity to learn and continue to learn and practice and learn new skills and practice the skills of maintaining unity and peace. And if you're in the same situation, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But in the long run, again, this can be beneficial in modeling to your kids how they can also do this in a difficult and challenging time. Because here's the long and short of it, fellas, is that they are going to experience difficult and challenging times in their lives. And this is why I am correlating this verse, which is live a life worthy of the calling to which you have been called. We've been called to go through divorce now. We don't have a choice. We're going through it. So you can choose how you're going to go through it, and that will have a profound impact and effect on your children, particularly in their adult life when they are experiencing a difficult and challenging time as well. So next is embracing personal growth. Ephesians 4:22 through 24 encourages us to, quote, put off your old self and put on the new self. So this can be, if you decide to use it this way, a time of transition and an opportunity for personal growth and self-improvement. You've heard me talk about it lots of times. If you've been on any one of our group calls, we coin it as Life 2.0. It can be bigger, it can be better, it can be more than you ever imagined it to be. But that is only going to be if it's incumbent only upon if you are going to put in the work to embrace that personal growth. And again, your kids are going to benefit from seeing you handling this adversity, growing through the adversity, having grace through this adversity, and emerging on the back end as a better person. So it can absolutely be an opportunity for you embracing personal growth and coming out better on the back end with this. The next one, number 4, would be speaking truth in love. Quote, speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become in every respect the mature body of him who is the head, that is Christ. End quote. That's Ephesians 4:15. So, when discussing the divorce with your children, you can be honest about the behaviors and what has happened through the process, maybe some of the history, also dependent upon the age of your children. This is all age dependent, but be loving in how you do this. Again, I'll go back to the fact that your children derive part of their identity from both of their parents. So however egregious either parent's actions have ever been, that they will still derive that identity. So you cannot change that. So saying something bad about them is literally saying something bad about them, or saying something bad about your ex or soon to be ex is literally saying something bad about them. So do you share in honesty, share behaviors, I think is the best thing. And when we talk about this in group meetings or in individual coaching, addressing behaviors in a factual manner without emotions, without judgment, is the best way to do that. And you can simply state what the action is and why it is that it was something that you do not believe is good or bad, or is a good way in which you should conduct yourself. So again, there's episodes we've talked about this in the past, how to I think it's called how to handle the bad mouthing, etc. Check that out, because we go into specific detail about how you can approach those conversations with your kids. Again, being age dependent, but it's avoiding blame, and it's avoiding speaking negatively, and instead focusing on really reassuring them of your love and commitment to their well-being. Here's the other thing I want to point out is they also are going through their own experience through this process, and it will help them to grow. Also, it will help them to be stronger and healthier, hopefully functioning adults, provided that the adults in their life are able to help them through this and that they are also modeling it. And again, we're not asking perfection. This is impossible. You've never been through divorce. If you have been before, you've only been through it once or twice. Nobody gets good at anything once or twice or three times. If you've been 4 or 5 times, you're even still not that good. And I hope that you've not been through divorce 4 or 5 times. I know that I don't want ever to ever be, but the point being is you've got to do things over and over and over again before you get really good at things. And divorce there's just no right or wrong way through it. You're not going to do it perfectly. You're going to mess up. So if you can if you can focus on reassuring the kiddos about your love and your commitment to their well-being, just be honest with them and loving. That is going to be the best way for you to speak the truth in love. Okay, the next one, which is very difficult, and it's also part of the grieving process, so it's important, is letting go of anger. So let's think about that in the context of anger being part of the grieving process too. Ephesians 4:31 advises us to, quote, get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice, end quote. So obviously, and I'm not telling you something if you're going through it right now, or even if you're post-divorce, this divorce stirs up a ton of intense emotions. But it's crucial to process these feelings in healthy ways and away from your children. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to hide from your children sadness or worry or anything like that, but processing it away from your children and not including them or using them as a crutch about this is incredibly important. The grieving process, which is what you're going to be going through ongoing in divorce. And so it's not going to stop once you're done with your divorce and you're finished with the relationship and you've grieved the end of your marriage and the relationship. There are other things that happen, and we've got episodes in the past too about grieving and not ignoring grieving and how to get through and that and what the skills are. Go back and listen to those. But these intense emotions that you're going to experience through the grieving process, one of which is anger, you need to learn how to deal with those in healthy ways. So consider seeking counseling, group support. Your church might have a divorce support group. Get coaching or divorce coaching that's available through the Divorce Advocate community as well. But learn and work on, this goes back to that personal growth, ways in which you can handle these intense emotions. And again, not to hide them, because if you're hiding them, then that you're not modeling for your kid, but for your kiddos, but finding the skills and the tools and learning them and practicing them will allow them to see you doing this, knowing that you're sad or you're angry or whatever you might be going through, but that you're doing something about it, and how you're handling that is actually whether or not that is creating a positive environment in your life for you and your kiddos going through the divorce and post-divorce. So let go of the anger and also learn to work through and figure out those intense emotions in a healthy way. Okay, and the last one, which is arguably the most important one, because there are studies on this that are showing, and there's more and more body of work around this that's showing this is the most important thing for your health across the board, not just in divorce, but in your health in general, that can give you that can benefit you, and that is forgiveness, modeling forgiveness. Quote, "Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you," end quote. Ephesians 4:32. Demonstrating forgiveness even in the face of hurt, and I know that you're hurting. I know that you're hurting, is one of the most powerful lessons you can teach your children. This doesn't mean forgetting. This doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior, but rather choosing to let go of resentment for your own peace and your children's well-being. So I cannot emphasize this enough. And again, I'm going to point back to some episodes we've had in the back or in the past around forgiveness and some tools that we've shared in forgiveness. We talk about this in our group meetings quite a bit on how to do it. One that I will recommend is called Ho'oponopono. I'll just throw that out there. We did a whole episode on Ho'oponopono and the tool around using that, but just Google it. Forgiveness is absolutely transformative in your life. It will change your physiology. It will change your mindset. It will change your entire life. And they're studying this now. They're seeing that by being able to by being able to forgive in your life, that you're able to create a whole different brain chemistry by going through this process. So I highly recommend working on that and finding tools to be able to model forgiveness. Now, so here's my goal with this, guys. I think you've seen that these are just real simple phrases from just one small part of the gospel here, and it applies to a lot of previous episodes that I've shared. And again, I try to derive from all different aspects of life. Basically, everything that I bring to you fellas is from experiences that I've had or that I have ongoing, because this is an ongoing process. And so I want to make a final point, which is make sure to cultivate your spiritual life, because we talk about the four legs of the stool, if you will, that you need to keep in check and in balance and be working on. And that's mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And so the one that falls by the wayside the most is the spiritual one. But if you're ignoring that one, then the four legs of the stool is still not quite balanced. It might be more balanced than just one or two, but it's not balanced enough. So make sure to focus on that. Doesn't necessarily mean that you need to. I would highly encourage you to pick up the Bible. It's the best book ever written in the world. But that's not that might not be your journey for right now. Find some spiritual endeavor to draw some of this wisdom. It will come to you, and however you are having a spiritual experience, because we are all humans we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. So I highly, highly recommend that. This, just applying these simple principles from just Ephesians 4, can help you navigate through divorce with grace and integrity. So also just remember your children are watching, and the best way that we learn as humans in general and that they're going to learn is from watching you and learning how you handle this situation. So modeling this Christ-like behavior from Ephesians, you're not only helping them through this challenging time, but also teaching them the valuable life lesson of resilience, of forgiveness, and most importantly, unconditional love. Gentlemen, stay strong. I sincerely appreciate you listening this week, and I encourage you, if you found some value, please share this far and wide with another dad that's going through divorce. Post it on social media. If you give us a star rating on whatever podcast or whatever platform you're listening or watching on, that would help. One step further would be giving us a comment review that helps other dads that are looking for the support that they desperately need to jump on and just start listening. So thank you again so much. Have a terrific week, and God bless. To hear the rest of this episode and access the corresponding resources, visit thedivorcedadvocate.com and become a member of our community. It's free to join and will provide you with the resources you deserve as a divorced or divorcing dad. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll talk with you next week.